Girl Call Me with Tanya and Jessica is all about community.
Because listen, in a world that's getting wilder by the day, one thing we know for sure, we can't do this alone.
And this season, we're diving into how we show up for each other, build our circles, and find joy, no matter what's going on in this crazy world.
So grab your tea, get comfy, and get ready for a season full of laughs, love, and the kind of conversations you need in your life.
It's season 3, and we're just getting started.
Girl.
I think you did call me yesterday a few times. First of all, welcome to our listeners.
Yes.
Very excited. We're going to be talking about in our favorite places. But Jessica, you had some challenges yesterday.
Yeah, this is going to have to be a full episode. But yes, I did have some challenges. I would say it's a very LA moment, but I don't actually know about. I was on the freeway and I got hit by a 2x4 in my windshield that shattered my windshield.
You were driving 70 miles an hour.
Probably faster. And
what did I say? What did I say when you called and said I almost died? What did I say?
Okay, first of all, I don't think I said I almost died, but I maybe felt that, but I don't know what'd you say?
I said you're blessed and highly favored.
Oh, you're right.
Because the chance of you surviving that shit is that's really, I was like, how did you not get in an accident? And how did you, I would have had a heart attack. Like I literally told my wife I would have died. It would have been, I would have been dead because I saw that thing coming at me.
Yeah, this is why it needs to be a whole separate episode. But yes, first of all, every time I call you, I need you to say you're blessed and highly favored. So that, if we can start just that, adding that into the mix.
But
yeah, I think I actually had a very profound moment around it, and we're going to see Shauna this weekend. So maybe we will come back. We're doing a reading, so we'll come back for our full circle moment on that. But yeah, I think I stayed very calm and I stayed very present, and I was on the phone with my husband at the time when it happened, and so felt very held and safe by him and God and the universe and all the things. So
you're not only soft life vixen.
Right.
You're also highly favored.
Yes.
And so we've now decided that, the magic is there. So good for you.
And an all new windshield. You know what? I just washed my car and I had this little smudge on the windshield and I was like, this is so annoying, this little smudge. And now look, the whole windshield's replaced. So there we go. Look at
blessings. Look at God. Well, so, in a world, and I think we said this in last week's episode, in a world that's filled with lots of darkness, sometimes you got to find that positivity.
Yeah, that's right. And last year we did an episode, and we'll link it here, about Tanya and my trip to Martha's Vineyard. And it was my first time in Martha's Vineyard. It was Tanya's 20-year reunion. But in going back to what you were saying about finding the bright spot, our episode is mostly about our flight, which was the dark spot. But thankfully, it dropped us off in the most amazing place ever that became this beautiful sanctuary and for our summer. And so we're excited. This weekend we'll tell our guests all about this, but we have so much planned this summer. We really hadn't planned to make it back, and we were sad about it.
I have a whole life planned that was not including the vineyard this year.
Right. And then we were texting this weekend and we were like, how are we about to do this episode and not go to the vineyard? So it looks like we have a trip planned coming up, but more to come there. But Tanya, talk a little bit about just your experience for folks who didn't hear the episode.
We talked a lot about community this season, but it has been a place of community for me. I think when you get there, it was so funny. We landed. This lovely white man said hello to you. This was a great example of this lovely white man said, hi, is this your first time? And you were like, why you at? I mean, you really were like, and I said, girl,
I hadn't shed my city.
Let those shoulders down. And I think that is how I describe it. Martha's Vineyard allows you to let your shoulders down. I kind of settle in. I can relax. You know what? You see the folks that they're joyous and best and enjoying life. You see kids, enjoying life in the, late at night and going to have pizza in Oak Bluffs. But it is a place of joy for me. And it's been a place of community that, I've met a lot of great friends that I, connect with still. And sometimes you call a friend. And I think the reason why we started thinking about it is because Marcel, she's been on our show, and one of my best friends was like, I'm going back. She's there now, but she's like, I'm going back in August. And I said, okay, girl, let me text Jessica. Are we going with Marcel?
Like,
So yeah, I mean, and yeah, so any excuse to get lobster, you gotta say it like that, lobster. Any excuse to get some good lobster and to see some of my favorite places and my favorite shops, and it's just amazing. So it's joy.
yeah.
It's joy. It is joy.
Well, and I think I got this summer I watched, or this spring, I guess, I watched Forever, which I know so many of our viewers watched on Netflix. And I was so surprised about the episode that was entitled, I think it's episode 5, called The
Yeah.
Vineyard.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it again, but then I got like, why didn't I have a teen love when I was 15 on The
Okay,
Vineyard?
girl.
Because it's
Girl.
so like so sweet. And I was like, oh, it
It
just
was.
like brought this like, oh,
Yeah.
so I want to talk to our guests more about that.
But
But
we can't forget about whoa, 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 whoa,
oh yeah,
whoa,
the
whoa,
polar
whoa.
bears. Yeah, yeah. But our whole experience with the polar bears, yeah, what a
Your experience. You kept going back. I was like, listen, I do it once and that was it because it's 7 and it's cold and my body can't take that. So
and I
yeah,
made you do yoga and the polar bear. I made you do
I
a
know.
back to back.
That was a lot.
But anyway, so we're excited because we have someone who is talking to us live from the vineyard, and we're not there yet, but she's someone who's really helping preserve and expand the legacy of Black excellence on Martha's Vineyard. India Rose is a multi-hyphenate entrepreneur. So
Love
founder of Black Owned MV and the CEO of 2 retail businesses based on the island. She has a background which is similar to us in
Yep.
nonprofit and
Mhm.
real estate. And she made this bold pivot, which we've been talking so much about on our show, channeling her
yeah.
business acumen and her love for community into ventures that uplift Black culture, ownership, and connection. And she'll talk more about Black owned MV, but she's helping shine a light, which we love, on other Black owned businesses, making it easier for travelers to explore the island with intention. She's a visionary and a connector, which is the only type of people we have on this show. And
Love
so
connector.
welcome India Rose to Girl Call Me. We are so excited that we called you and you picked up the phone.
Yes, girl.
I'm
Hey, welcome.
here. Absolutely. What an intro.
And,
Cool.
and tell us about the weather right now. Can you give us a weather report from? I
Yeah.
see the sun
So
shining.
it's hot and humid. The sun is shining. It was raining this morning.
Okay.
So, it's supposed to be a sunny, humid type of day on the vineyard today. So
Nice.
my hearing is a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Any day is a good day on the vineyard. So India, tell us a little bit about you. I mean, we've just, read this wonderful introduction, but tell us about you and your life on the vineyard and your pivot.
Yeah. So I grew up here, and I think a lot of people are often surprised that we have a year-round community, particularly when people come into my shop. They're like, wait a minute, you live here? Because everybody's from somewhere else. So I was actually born in New Bedford, Mass, which is where my dad's side of the family is from. My mom's side of the family was actually born and raised on the vineyard. And they moved us to the island when I was about 5th grade, when I was about 10 years old. And at first, I absolutely hated it here because nobody looked like me. I didn't know that, I would kind of find my tribe or my people until I really saw what the summers look like. I said, okay, this is where I found my friends. This is where, my boyfriends, right? We're always from somewhere else, during the summertime. And, so I kind of found my tribe during the summer. But otherwise, I mean, every other week I was threatening to go live with my grandmother. I was like, I want to go to the mainland. I don't want to be here. It was a whole different experience growing up here to then be an adult to appreciate it. Both my kids, 23 and 17 now, both of them born and raised here. I didn't really appreciate the magic, the safety, all of the things that the
Yes.
island really kind of brings until I was an adult. And then it is kind of hard to see, not only as a child, but as, a little Black girl where, you're coming here and they're not used to seeing people who look like you. So, they always wanted to kind of relate to whatever they saw in television. And back then it was like the Source magazine and all the rap magazines and everything else, right? To try to relate to me, the whole touching of my hair and all the things. All the time. All the time. I mean, every single one of them. That the islands, like, it definitely is isolated. You got a ferry. You have a
Right.
ferry in between, right? So the isolation is also the mental isolation in a lot of ways. And a lot of these kids, if they're going on vacation, doesn't necessarily mean that they're being immersed, with people of color
Right.
in capacity at all. So what it looked like as a kid and my kids' experience is very different because I wanted to make sure growing up here that I was providing them with a better cultural experience beyond the confines of the vineyard as well. So coming full circle and the fact that, I left and then I came back, we're in a whole different place now.
Wow. I think it's two things that you bring up that I think probably resonate with a lot of people, even if they've never been to Martha's Vineyard in particular, is one, this idea when you grow up somewhere that everyone else calls vacation and you
Mm,
having that round the year kind of experience. And then also, I mean, island. I mean, we talked to someone else who just has an island experience, whether it's abroad, whether it's Hawaii, whether it's just the idea of, again, people kind of descending on your
right.
home and
Yes.
then leaving. Can you just talk about we talked last week about like the cognitive dissonance or like the duality piece. Can you talk about, especially as a business owner, people coming to the island, but also there's probably some bit of like resentment or challenge with that too, and how you navigate that being there all year round?
Well, so your calendar, right? Like your calendar, I call it like sort of like the mental calendar that everything is sort of done around the summer season, right? So when the
Right.
summer season ends, then it's okay, you're preparing for the next year,
Right.
right? The next season. And not just that, but being an entrepreneur on the island can be very stressful because you have to fit so much into such a short period of time for survival, right?
Mm,
And then
Right.
that's also exhausting, right? So then you're worrying about, financially, what is July going to look like? What is, August going to look like? Trying to get more and more traffic in the shoulder seasons to kind of extend the season a little bit. Why everybody wants to fit everything into 3 weeks in August? I mean,
it's
Girl,
mad.
can
It's
we
crazy.
come
crazy,
on?
crazy.
We have other months. It's beautiful here. You can go to the beach in June and September. Like, let me
It's
Right.
true.
stretching out a little bit because I'm tired.
It's
Right.
funny because we visited June, maybe it was 5 years ago, and I remember going, "Oh, if I can't, I got to go back in August." Because and there's something about I mean, it is a beautiful time. It is quiet.
I know.
You are able to get in every place. You're able to find a parking space.
Right.
You're able to, no plus. But there's something about, and it made me know that everybody's there. You're like the
Yeah.
phone of events. You got to be there if you're
Yeah.
coming to visit, right?
Right. No, and it is true. There is so much packed into August that there are so many things that we do, we look forward to. There's a lot of events to choose from. I tell people all the time, the island is what you make it. If you
Yeah.
want to go ahead and you just want to spend all your days at the beach or on the
Yeah.
porch, or, you can do that. Right. If you just want peace of mind, you just want to relax, you want to decompress, you can use it at that. If you want to go ahead and you want to be seen, you want the tickets to this event, you want to go to the white party, you want to, go to the fundraiser and, you want to network and soiree and all the things, you can do that too, right? But the island
Right.
has all of those different things. The stereotype of the island, there's pieces of that are true, of
Yeah.
course,
Right.
right? And then there's, the other components that may not be as tourist, highlighted or friendly, right? In
Right.
that way that exists, like a housing crisis that
Right.
exists
Mm,
for year-round folks and workers and, those kind of things. But that's not going to be highlighted, on TV or, in other things for,
right.
people who actually make the economy run.
Right.
Because if small businesses can't stay in business, then you have to worry about what that looks like for tourism, right? In general, if your favorite restaurant's not here when you get here, how's that going to make you feel, right? If there's a lot of empty storefronts because they just, it was a slow year and they just couldn't make it, what does that look like? There's so many different factors of just living in a sort of summer tourist economy that, from a business perspective, and when I'm having conversations with other business owners, so you got to think outside the box, literally, but not that box is the vineyard. Think beyond the confines of the vineyard, the streams of income, how, if you're product based, if you're service based, how can you get outside of the vineyard to be able to continue to survive? Because if you're depending on foot traffic and it's a down week, or it's a down month, there has to be something that can, compensate for that. So it's beautiful. I look forward to the people. I look forward to the events. At the same time, it's just like a whirlwind because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, here we are, mid-July, and it's like, August is right around the corner. And then once, August 30th hits, everything's kind of just, it flattens out,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you have to start all over again. So it's a really weird cycle.
Yeah.
You know, you came back to the Vineyard, and it's curious. We've talked a lot about pivots. We've had definitely different guests, particularly Black women. Black women are looking at the options and looking at what is next for them. And so, tell us a little bit about your decision to come back and be an entrepreneur versus the career trajectory that you were on.
So I have an entrepreneurial spirit. And I'm a firm believer that when you're born with an entrepreneurial spirit, you're always building something. So whether you're actually executing it, you're doing it in your brain, you're feeling it, you have the urge for it, creatives, entrepreneurial spirits really can't sit still in that way. And that has been me since I was a kid. So, I mean, from lemonade stands, I used to paint rocks, try to sell them. I mean, now the little kit where you would make little pot holders and the weaver things. I mean, I would do those and think I could, have a whole storefront with it, right? So when I think about all those different things that I was trying to build and try to create, just even as a kid, I didn't know what to do with that energy, right? I mean, it was like, okay, you're going to go after school, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And, just thinking of building, as an entrepreneur, I didn't know exactly what that looked like, but the spirit was always there. So while I was working in an office setting, I was still sort of moonlighting or doing gigs, right? I started with event planning. And in 2011, I created the Martha's Vineyard Wedding Studio where I was doing some wedding planning and events. And it was like this wedding library that existed in Vineyard. So I was always doing something else. And then the nonprofit piece really kind of creeped up on me where I just started being part of different committees and groups and, helping with events and, really just wanting to kind of see and give back. And then that just kind of grew on me. It felt good. It was something that I wanted to do. And then I just sort of took it a little further. But that's also part of the entrepreneurial spirit, in that way too. Then I was, the first board member. It's called ASIM, Adult Community Education of Martha's Vineyard. It was the first when they got their 501(c)(3). It was a beautiful, I kind of looked at them as our local community college. So there's so many different things to, sort of be a part of that even still now, even though I'm an entrepreneur, I'm on the board of Mary Posen Museum in Oak Bluffs.
I
Absolutely
love that.
beautiful event space, a museum that
Mhm.
highlight Black culture and Black history. Harry Seymour, artist in residence, is also the cover art for the 2025 Martha's Vineyard Black-owned Business Directory. So I'm always still looking, for different ways to give back. But I think that entrepreneurs in general should always sort of build charitable giving or philanthropy into whatever their business model is. One, it feels good, it's good for the bottom line, and it's good for, community. So that's something that I've never, and I don't desire to kind of get rid of, but the entrepreneurial spirit has always been there.
I love
Yeah.
that. You're
Yeah.
speaking our language.
Yeah,
Um,
especially Jessica. Listen, Jessica will come up with an idea today in like an hour. And then we'll be like, girl, should we sell that? What were we doing?
Right.
right, right. No, I
It's
love that. I love that idea. Can you talk about, so share a little bit about, because I think you, I think what's really always fabulous about good entrepreneurs is you have, and you just spoke to it, a desire to share and to lift up others. And
Yeah.
because you know that, better business for you is better, better business for everybody it comes when, whatever,
yeah.
all boats rise, right?
Yeah.
So can you talk about how you started Black owned MV? What was that, and what drove kind of obviously purpose there, but can you talk about just why and how?
Definitely. So the Martha's Vineyard Black-owned Business Directory was, I basically created a website in 2019. So it was really born out of me having lots and lots of conversations up to that point because I was involved in so many different community aspects. There would be folks that I didn't even know that my DM me on social media asked me for Black-owned resources. I've always been very out loud about that. And folks would ask me for that. So in 2019, I decided, you know what, just started as a passion project. I'm going to put them all in one place. I'm going to say, you know what, instead of, really kind of directing everybody, well, this is where you should go eat, or this is who I trust as a plumber, and, all of the different things, which was taking up a lot of time. Not that people, I mean, people still do that, don't get me wrong. But I also look at my personal recommendations as a very different, thing than, having a whole plethora, to kind of choose from. So I just created the website and I started telling people like, hey, this is the directory. Here's where you can go to find those resources. And it just started as a passion project. In 2020, when George Floyd was murdered and the everything was crumbling all around us, it really was a sort of a weird time for the directory because it just kind of grew as a national platform. People were looking for those resources. So then I was, sort of being interviewed, in different ways about the platform, how and when I got started. People were literally looking for, someone, feeling some type of way, not knowing what to do with that anger and that energy, right? And coming across the website to be able to support. So the platform really grew into a national platform, but you figure out people from all over the place, come to Martha's Vineyard. So that wasn't something that I was necessarily expecting or really thinking about in that way. It just started like, hey, people are looking for these businesses. I just need to be able to connect them, right? If they can't find them, let me help them find them, and, and vice versa, right? Let's drive folks to these Black owned businesses. And then I noticed people were starting to print it out. So I was at a restaurant one day and it was like, hey, India, look, I got my directory with me. I said, well, what do you mean you have your directory with me? Because it's a website, right? So, and it was a scrolling website. I didn't have a PDF on there. There wasn't any, and people were printing it. And I said, okay, we need to rethink this format. So 2021 was the first year that I decided to turn it into a magazine. And so now people can literally hold it, people can order it online. And it's just grew into this thing where, it's often referred to as sort of the green book for Martha's Vineyard. And people collect them. So if they're like, oh, I want to keep one in my rental house. I want to, somebody took my copy. Do you have last year's copy? I want to make sure that I have, each year. It's really being, used not only as a planning tool and the impact that it's had on the Black owned businesses. I mean, that's a whole other thing. But the way that people feel about it, or when people come into my shop and they've never heard about it, and then I'm giving it to them because, it costs something if you order it online to ship, but it doesn't cost anything for you to be able to pick one up. There's no cost to it. And they're like, this is so beautiful. I feel like I should have to pay you for it. And no, it's, go use it. Go show up, right? Go put those dollars, in a particular place. You don't have to pay for that. And there's no barrier for the local businesses to be able to be in the directory either. So sponsorship helps take care of that. And it's like if somebody's having a down year and they're like, oh, I can't afford them the minimal, ad fee to be able to be in. It's like, I got you. That means you need it more than ever, right? So we need to drive traffic to you. So it's just grown in such a way that I never would have expected. So much so that I have people throughout the year, just like, when's the new one coming out? Or, are people ordering it online, before, it's printed annually before it comes out. And
You're like, chill.
In fact, you're like, hey, listen, I got a job. I got a front-end job. Leave me alone. I will say, India, so I used to do my own directory. And it and I think everybody does, right? I'm an itinerary girl. I created my itinerary, and in every itinerary, it was top Black, owned places to go before I. And so I would have my friends say, Tanya, send me yours from last year or whatever. And then Marcel, my friend, I think you know her too, said, Tanya, you no longer have to do your directory for everybody because guess what? India's done one for us. And so now that is my go-to. Whenever I have a friend that's going, I'm like, this is where I don't care if you're white, Black, whatever. I'm like, I'm sending you that directory because this is the best places to go. So I was going to say thank you for all of us. And I think I have my 2024 one and I put on my bulletin board. I have a bulletin board of vacations and joy on my wall, and it's one of them.
Yeah, I love that. I love that was an outcome you said of living out loud. Living out loud, and that is, that's what happens when you have that entrepreneurial spirit, and then you talk about it, and then you feel it, and you do something about it. And I think what a time in 2020. You're right, it's like a tumultuous time. but a time where people were reaching out, and the fact that you were there, I think probably helped a lot of people through that
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing, and that's
And it wasn't
super
without risk, right? Like I was
right.
a little nervous. I mean, it didn't, my fear, didn't actually come to fruition, but I was nervous because I was creating something that was specifically, right, on Martha's Vineyard, that was specifically directing folks to Black-owned businesses.
Right.
So the island can be a little mixed, especially with the year-rounders, right, that may not have the same values as us. And I worried that there might be some backlash. Would there be backlash like, why does this exist? And, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
all of the racism, sort of coming to the forefront. And luckily, that was not even close to being the majority. It was always a little handful if it was shared online and, that kind of thing. You had some trolls and stuff, but it was not even close to being the majority. It was so embraced and so lifted up by the folks that,
Yes.
were, wanted it, that were thanking me for it. And that just made it, so much easier, on the back end of launching something like that, with the fear
Yeah.
like, okay, what's the backlash going to be? Are the Black-owned businesses gonna be a target that are listed? I think there may have been fear with a few of them that they were thinking the same thing, because we also have
Right.
little stickers that say, MB,
Yeah.
local Black-owned business, that you can put in your window. So it was also looked at as a possibility of being a target, and luckily that was not the case.
Well, and it's so amazing that you were able to I think these days someone looking to a bigger corporation or someone from the outside looking to kind of take that and run with it, what is such an opportunity. So your ability to kind of wrap your arms around that idea and execute it and keep it as something like as sacred as it is owned by and run for people of the Black people in the island who are doing this work, I think is makes it so much more important.
Thanks. And I mean, just maintain the integrity of it. I
Yeah.
mean, because it exists. I mean, there were some folks that, definitely in the beginning were sort of anti it or weren't sure about it and its presence and all the things. And then, realized like, oh, okay, this is beneficial, or yes, this is something that, I want to be a part of. It's, the things that I also navigated with folks almost wanting to steal it. There was
Mm-hmm.
an incident where there was a local
Imagine.
white woman who had a blog, who
Interesting.
created
I'm just shocked.
created her own on the blog. And I didn't know, using everything verbatim, then I didn't know that, right, that she had done that until, because I followed keeping track of the SEO, that I was Googling it and making sure everything was looking the way it was supposed to, and then her website came up. And I had to literally do that.
Girl.
A year-round person A year-round person, yep, and I said, "What are you doing?"
Wow.
I said, "1, you need to take this down. You need to understand." It was like, "Oh, well, I like the language that you were using." I was like, "Yeah, and you're also trying to drive, a Black audience, right,
Right.
to your product and to your things,
Right.
and you stole it. Like, and
Right.
this is pre-existing, founded by a Black woman, and you're
Right.
a white woman who literally just stole the Martha's Vineyard Black-owned business directory and put it on your blog."
Cease
So
and desist.
exactly.
Where's my lawyer? Call
Right.
Where's my, but you know
Call
what? I'm not surprised. Girl,
no.
call me. Girl, call
Call
us.
call my counsel as soon
Yeah,
Call
as
my
you can.
counsel.
exactly.
Did she quickly
Wow.
take it? I'm just
Oh,
curious.
she did, she did. I don't know why we had to go back and forth, the way that we did before, kind of that
It's like,
just wasn't
Yeah, like,
okay.
why did I
I love what
have
you're
to?
doing, but I wanna do it, so I want it.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm gonna own it and put my name on it. And what is happening? What is?
No,
Heck
no,
yeah.
there wasn't no backlink, there wasn't created by, it wasn't anything. She literally took it, duplicated it, and put it on her blog.
Ciao.
Word for word, it was quite the thing. So, and there's different
Sure.
challenges. There are, different media outlets and different things
Sure.
throughout, different challenges to navigate with it, where folks see the value of it,
Right.
Yeah.
so
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
I guess you can say that. You can say, listen, the positive twist. At least
Yes.
you clearly they're looking at me and
Right.
they're valuing it.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm gonna need you to give me credit.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
One of
Exactly.
the things that you mentioned earlier was just some of the challenges. I mean, real estate is always challenging. I
Yes.
mean, and one of your many amazing entrepreneurial jobs is you're a realtor. And, real estate as someone who's coming to visit, finding the place and all of it, but people who are coming seasonally to
Yep.
work. I always think about some of the Caribbean community and all other communities who are coming in to try to find housing and the
Mhm.
cost.
Yeah.
How is that navigating? I mean, I'm thinking post, COVID now. I mean, I know that after COVID, there was there was a bit of a dip. And now I imagine it came up. And now I think situations that are happening on the island is maybe making that another challenge.
Yeah. So we already had an existing housing crisis, right? It
Right.
was hard, just for regular folks to be able to find somewhere to live or, to be able to rent. And then COVID hit. So then everybody from the cities decided that they were going to come and stay in their summer house that they had on the island
Right.
at a particular time that they would normally be here. Right. So they occupied the house. And then a lot of them, because then you could work from home, decided like, oh, this is working and my employer is not requiring me back, and then stayed in their house. So these then became, places where either folks were renting, either during a winter rental, then, they'd have to move out during the summer. They call it the island shuffle. The island
Mhm.
shuffle is when, you're in one place during the summertime and then you move out of there to get back into your winter rental and kind of doing this shuffle, this cycle all the time when you live here. And that's kind of, what you have for, housing choices. So a lot of that was taken away, right? So with folks then occupying their homes, no longer renting it, whether it was, seasonally or whatever, just occupying it, that took away more housing. So that became an additional challenge. I have friends that are moving off right now. My brother 2 years ago was looking for year-round housing just to be able to rent. He couldn't find anything. Him and his wife moved to Ohio, where her family's from, and, that's where they landed because he just couldn't. I mean, his employer, here was trying to find something for him and everything, and they had to go. They just couldn't, there was nothing here for them at that time. So it's sort of this very vicious cycle in that
Mhm.
way. I decided to get my real estate license because I was doing so much of the navigating anyway. So through the directory, different corporations, different folks would reach out to me. A lot of the corporations will, want, the directories in bulk or include in a swag bag. So they're also using it as a planning tool. So I have a consulting arm in that way to help them navigate the local landscape. And a lot of that would include, the real estate component. So whether it was directing them to somebody to rent, somebody who, then wanted to maybe purchase next year, all of these different things. I said, well, let me go ahead and get licensed so that I can also handle that at the same time because I'm already working with these folks, right? I'm already have, this network where I'm referring them to other people when I can kind of keep that component, kind of getting 3/4 of the way, except being able to, seal the deal on a
You
sale.
better close
Except for
that
getting
deal.
paid, except for getting that
Yeah,
cash.
get the coins.
Let me get licensed so I can see all the
Right.
way through,
Right. To
right?
my bank account.
Exactly. Because I'm doing the work, right?
Right.
Right. They'll get paid.
Right.
Yep, exactly. Without anything at the end, without
Right.
anything on the back end. So that's what even led me, to really kind of think. I mean, I love real estate. A couple of years ago, I bought my first summer home in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and just always loved that, kind of process. But that was what motivated me to get my license, kind of like in that way. In addition to my now 23-year-old son, who was like, "Mom, we should get our real estate license together."
Okay.
So we
Right.
both signed up, at the same time. He's gonna graduate college soon and go to grad school, and he's playing football and all the things. But it was, that was an additional motivator. It was like, we should get, our real estate license together. And because he works in my shop too. And, he by default is, sort of helping folks, with some of those questions and different things and everything else. So I was like, well, kid wants to do it with me. How could I say no? So
Right.
that was another part of it, but the island is definitely a challenging market as far as the year-round component. You're looking for a summer home here, it's a really great investment, that value, to be able to, rent or, sort of create legacy. I mean, that's a huge part of it for
Yeah.
sure, being able to hand that down. Some beautiful things that come along with it, but, for the year-round folks, it's a little bit more of a challenge.
Can you talk about that? So that legacy piece is obviously such an
Mm,
important part of Martha's Vineyard. And I think though we've seen like kind of pop culture, Martha's Vineyard, I talked about forever. Obviously I bought in on the pop culture piece, but I think we've seen Tanya was talking last summer, telling me about all these TikTokers that were on the island.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not
It was
even
a
on
different it
TikTok.
was a different crowd.
And
They're
True.
right,
Yep.
I barely
right.
even know. So, and obviously for the old, I guess pop culture for the older people, like, 10 years ago when people started finding out about the Obamas being there, and
Mhm.
can you talk about kind of the pop culture face of Martha's Vineyard and kind of the influence that that's had on kind of tourism and popularity and just what people expect when they come to the island?
Definitely. So when I was a kid, just even, hanging out on circuit, going down to the courts, being at the inkwell, thinking about, some of the folks that I would see around then. So for me, it was like Alonzo Mourning, I was playing basketball at the time. It was Black Sheep,
Mhm.
Rapper Black Sheep, right? Taking a picture, Sly, on the inkwell where we're there, like at the same time. John Singleton was really hot.
Oh,
He
Oh,
was
John,
vacationing
yeah,
yes.
here,
blessing.
right? Wesley Snipes, remember seeing him driving up circuit. It'd be like, that's Wesley.
Mm.
Right. So when I think about some of the folks that I would see, Dan Aykroyd, he still vacations here, and some of the
Mhm.
folks who have, homes here and stuff, it was just always, a thing, right? I mean, people came here, but stars also felt comfortable coming here because it wouldn't really get bothered, right? So
Right.
some folks kind of, doing it from afar, and then we'd have the different presidential, administrations. And I worked as an accounts administrator at FarmNet Golf Club in Oak Bluffs for 10 years and with the foundation. And that's when I was first introduced in 2003 to 2013. So during Barack's campaign, the
Mhm.
first campaign, he came and played with our members. One of our members, Brennan Jordan, may he rest in peace.
Mm.
One of my favorite members at FarmNet. This absolute sweetest. I mean, his presence, and, he'd always bring gifts to us in the office, and, the double kiss on the cheek that always made my husband, jealous, and like, you know, and meeting, and it was Vernon who introduced me to Barack on the first hole at FarmNet. And it was only 2 times that I've ever, because I grew up in this environment, that I ever felt that, I was sort of starstruck. And that was one of them. The other one was Miss Angela Davis at a fundraising soiree. And, everything else, it's like, oh, okay, that's so and so, and that's so and so. You kind of get used to it, or different folks, that come into my shop. Bill Bellamy came in and bought some gear for me last summer, which I thought was really
Nice.
cool. And, kind of dapped me up and was like, I was told I had to come here, right? And just really, really, really cool, and just really great interactions. And then some folks who just, aren't expecting it too, to be like, oh my God, I just thought, my daughter just had one of her girlfriends from school down for this weekend, and they saw some TikTokers, that they knew, took a picture, with one of the influencers, and, were just all giggly about it. And, it's really part of that experience. And it was actually beautiful to watch my daughter and her friends have this, because this was her friend Dana's first time on the island, and just watching her have, like, the same vineyard experience that I would have as a kid, right? Just hanging out in town, seeing some folks, going down to to the courts, and, just hanging out on circuit because, you're not old enough to get into the club. So you're kind of hanging out, doing the people watching, and, having conversations. And it was absolutely beautiful to watch, because it is just immersed, right? That they're having the same type of experience that I had. I'm not even going to say how many years ago, right? But that I had in the 90s, right? That they're having that right now. So it's an absolutely beautiful thing. People find, that respite, and, that's, from the celebrity standpoint, where they can just go ahead and just live. Meanwhile, we kind of get to experience, some of these cool sightings, and, maybe get to shake a hand, or, take a picture sometimes, which is really cool.
I
Yeah.
love that.
You mentioned your store. You have two, stores on the island. I actually was privileged to stay at the Mansion House, which is just down the street from your store in Vineyard Haven. And then I moved it to Oak Bluffs, and I ended up staying at and I was like, let me go shop again. And I, because why not? And then it ended up at the right next to your other store. Talk about having, retail spaces and stores on the island, and talk about a little bit about, particularly as a Black owned business.
Yeah. So last year it was more of a pop-up, the one in Oak Bluffs. I wanted
The
to.
other one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was more of a pop-up. I did like a month to month, like May through August. And it was a lot of work. because I've been at, so my storefront Sideline in Haven, this is my 5th season. So and it's a lot bigger space. I really consider it to be sort of like a hub of culture because I have a lot of events that are in there. I do everything from author signings to little tasting events, Black art events, all kinds of things, kind of bring people through and, give people the opportunity to kind of have conversation and, sell product and have some exposure. But it really, when I was thinking about even opening the storefront, it was literally during the pandemic because I was doing a lot of consulting during that time and everything kind of fell, flat. And I had this idea that I said, you know what, I'm going to give it some energy. And I call it Sideline because I'm a sideline mom. And it was really influenced by, my son playing D1 football, my daughter, being a dancer, just cheering my kids on from the sidelines. So that's where it comes from. The logo's influenced by the hash marks on the football field. Tailgating line. I have my own spice line, which is huge. And, just tailgating, cooking, and all the things, gathering people together. And that's what Sideline is. When you come into my storefront, it's a retail experience. People are coming in, they hear music, they're greeted. Nobody's standing at a cash register waiting to just ring up a sale. It's literally a customer service experience that people are getting from start to finish. And I curate the shop, that way. So it's, I have my own, two brands, Martha's Vineyard Streetwear, which is all of my Martha's Vineyard stuff. And then the Sideline piece, which is all of my motivational things and fun quotes and stuff. So right now I'm wearing, if I'm too much, go find less. Right?
Listen, I love that. I will also say I got my first Kamala shirt that you made for me. You pressed it.
Those were hot. That's August.
They were hot.
Yeah, those were hot. And I know because I have a heat press, I can do a lot of stuff in-house. So as soon as she announced, I was like making
I was like, where's my shirt?
So I was the only one that was selling Kamala stuff at the time, which was really cool.
You know what? I'm gonna wear that. I'm gonna wear some Kamala stuff this summer and just pretend that it's last summer. Just turn the time back. I'm gonna turn my clock.
Right. It was all
everything.
a dream.
It was
all a dream. I mean, what you can create everybody else is creating their own reality. Like
exactly.
Hashtag yes.
Not the president.
Exactly. Exactly. No, it's when I was thinking about what the overhead was going to look like, for having a storefront, of just sort of executing this idea at the time and putting everything, under here. I mean, obviously then it was, the directory, people know they can come, grab a directory there and all the things. I just wanted to make sure that it was, an experience and it was something that, people could, look forward to coming into. They're running into different folks from, their hometowns at the same time that they're in there. It really is just, Vineyard, I would say, in that way, right? Making the world a smaller place, just even popping into the shop. So
are you going to do your pop-up again in Oak Bluffs?
It was too much work.
I'm sure. I mean, it was fully stocked. I was like, let me have this. Because I think I didn't get a size of a shirt at the other store. So I was like, let me come back in here and see. And I think
Tanya.
Exactly.
Story of Tanya. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, people are coming to Vineyard Haven anyway, plus I do the
your
custom
location.
stuff.
Your location in Vineyard Haven is amazing, especially for I think every time I was there, I ended up having oh, let's go to brunch. Few too many drinks. Now let's spend all day shopping. Now, and just walking down that. I mean, that's just the perfect location.
It is a great location
for all the things. It's awesome.
And your fashion show, are you going to do that this year? You usually do a fashion.
Yeah. So Black Fashion Weekend, August 14th, 15th, we have our meet and greet designer soiree. On the 15th is the runway show. We're doing the runway show at Union Chapel this year. So we're able to really kind of include the Black marketplace in, because the space is so big. Having the Black marketplace, last year we did it 2 separate days. We did the runway show at the Strand Theater, and then we did the Black marketplace on Circuit. This year we're able to do it all in one place, because people wanted to be able to shop right afterwards. So now we're able to provide that opportunity for the runway show and then to be able to shop. So, and of course, yes, it's in August.
Yes.
It's in August.
In the prime of August.
In the middle.
Right. I just thought
Legacy
about
Week, right? It's Legacy Week too.
So, Legacy Week's the last week of July.
Last week of July. Okay.
The last week of July, going into August.
It's too much.
Look, I just thought about this. My birthday is in middle of September. I don't know why I never think about doing Martha's Vineyard. It's the perfect time. And then
that's I want in September. and it was amazing, actually.
Yeah.
I
Everywhere's
think it was
amazing in September. Everywhere's amazing
okay.
in
August is
September.
really
Right.
where because
I'm
I'm,
a fall girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
oh
Are you?
gosh.
Okay, good. Are you a Virgo also?
No, Capricorn.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Capricorn. Okay. I'm a
Well,
Capricorn rising.
it's Leo season, and that's all that matters because
Okay.
that's why it's
Calm down.
August. But I will say September, I would, my wife prefers the quiet. So she was like, June or
Yep.
September.
Got
And
it.
it is, you still get the same benefits. And I think they're extending the season's extending. I mean, I feel like a lot of still, events were still happening.
Yeah. There's still things that happen. Absolutely. It just, it again depends on whether or not people want to be all up in it, you know,
All
Right.
of that.
or
I was
all up in it or
All
not.
up in
Tanya.
it.
I was just gonna say that the laugh I had was you being like, my wife likes the quiet. I'm like, meanwhile, married to you. That is like the
Right.
Now,
it is a balance. It is about we all look, my husband would say the same thing. Okay, so you just said your favorite month. I wanted to do some kind of rapid fire questions. I won't put you on the spot with businesses because she's got a
She has a full
directory. She's
directory.
not trying to show
Yeah,
favorites,
and
but
we'll link that. We'll link
yes.
the directory and
But
the fashion show and all things.
to close up, let's do some rapid fire kind of questions for you about. So you've said favorite month on the Vineyard is September. Can you tell us why? I mean, like I said, September is amazing everywhere, but why is it especially special in the Vineyard? Why do you love it?
everything's still open. So you
Mhm.
can still go to your favorite shops, your favorite restaurants. You don't have the lines. You'll most likely be able to park right there. And the weather is
Mhm.
just like 2 or 3 degrees, a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
So, anytime that I can go ahead and, throw on a hoodie at night, I'm loving it. I'm loving
Oh,
it.
I love that. Okay. What's your favorite meal on the Vineyard? You don't have to say restaurant, but just maybe
Lobster.
type of
No,
food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for
I
it.
want influence.
What's your favorite meal if you when you
I,
get
I
to
don't not
pick?
even mind throwing out one. I love breakfast food.
Mm,
I love, love, love breakfast food, and biscuits is one of my favorites.
Oh, I
yeah.
love this.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
stuffed French toast, anything that has hollandaise sauce, just put it all over there, the chicken and waffles, I
Yes.
could eat that every day, all day. When I was pregnant with my kids, that's all I wanted was breakfast food. So,
Nice.
and that really hasn't changed. I love breakfast.
I do too. Okay, so what's one thing you think every Black woman should do on the island?
So they should come visit my shop. They
Of
should come
course,
Come
yes.
visit
through.
mine.
Yeah.
Maybe grab a fan because I got all the fan. I can't even tell you how many fans.
Girl.
Okay, and all the colors, the boots on the ground fans. I got a whole got a
Yes.
come grab a fan, and then my
Okay.
little
Where
bias.
the fans at?
Then go follow wherever DJ Smooth B is going to be.
Oh, okay.
Okay? I am married to DJ Smooth B. They-
Oh, okay.
She's like, so follow, but not too close.
Hey, I did
Ladies.
not know that.
Like he's also the best. He's also the
Okay.
best.
Right.
So I would say,
Okay.
definitely come grab your fan and then go use it wherever DJ Smooth B is going to be for the
Right.
alliance and all the things.
Right.
He's just everywhere. It's just a really good time, wherever he's going to be. And, I'd say for every Black woman, make sure you know where DJ Smooth B is going to be. You will
Yes.
not be disappointed, and I'll probably be there.
I love
Okay.
that. I love that. Anything else you think our listeners should know about the island that you want to share? You've shared so much. I think I
Right.
feel like we're single-handedly, people are going to be like, okay, September. I already feel like me saying my birthday is going to get me
And
called.
clearly now we may be moving our trip to September for our birthday celebration.
I'm right there with you.
We might be able to find housing because I'm not sure we were going to be.
Well, that's that
Right.
too. Well, right. You
Right.
have more to choose from, and the cost is
Cheaper.
down. It's not the
Yeah.
prime of August, right? So you can save
Right.
a few bucks. The one thing I would say, and I was really surprised, one of my customers had said to me in my shop last year, where they felt that they needed to be on a certain level or at a particular place in their life before they came to the Vineyard.
Thank
They
you.
said that they thought that the Vineyard was sort of synonymous with this, elite status, or they couldn't come here until they got to a particular place in life. And it really made me think that a lot of people might think that way,
Yes.
at the same time. And yes, it is hard to get to. Yes, it is expensive. A lot of places are expensive too. Turks and Caicos is expensive, right? There's a lot of places. And I would just say, maybe on your first time, you do come in June or September. You come and you test it out. But that was something that kind of almost, made me sad a little bit that they felt that they needed to be, on a certain, level, so to speak, a mental level or professional level or something like that in order to be here. And it's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. So I would say that, don't limit yourself. Don't, there are some stereotypes that are true. That's everywhere. There's a year-round population, that lives here. And, if you want to play, if Martha's Vineyard is on your bucket list, and you can budget for that, come down, just make it happen. You're not going to then just be judged on, how much money you make every year or what circles. The vineyard is what you make it. And you can come, you can relax, you can get whatever it is that you want to get out of it, historical, educational, social, all the things. So
I
that's
love that. I love everything about that because I have heard so many people say the same. Oh, well, that's not, it's like the Hamptons. I'm like, no. That's
no,
not,
that's
that's not. And
easy thing. Like it's
no,
not,
it's easy. It's
right.
easy. Take a boat, fly in, whatever. But
It-
either one. One of the questions we sometimes ask our guests is, because you have a lot going on. You've listed many jobs, many businesses, many things.
Yep.
Is how do you relax and how do you find joy? Like, where's your community? Who's your girl call me folks?
Yes. So I just 2 days ago went to the beach. It was like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And I told my husband, because he didn't have a DJ gig. So he's got a day job in addition to the night thing. And I said, we're going to the beach. We're going to go watch the sunset. Like throw on your sneakers, do whatever it is that you needed to do. And that was me having to be intentional about taking a break because as an entrepreneur, my ideas never stop. I'm always building, right? When I'm going to sleep, it's, hard to sleep. It's like, okay, what did I not get done? I need to put on my calendar for tomorrow. So that doesn't stop. And it was in that moment that we went to State Beach. It was absolutely beautiful. The water was still, wasn't as crowded because it was towards the end of the day. And I just sat there and I looked and I just breathed and I said, man, this is why people come here.
Yeah.
This is why
That's
people
it.
come here, so it's me just kind of reminding myself that
Yeah.
I live here,
Yeah.
right? And that I have some of these opportunities too, whether I'm taking advantage of it or not. So I'm trying to be a lot more intentional about that, just with my friend circle, particularly when we're busy during the summertime, with my husband, trying to still date him while we're both running our businesses and he's still got a day job and all the things. So I'm just trying to be really, really intentional about that. But just going to the beach, sitting there watching the
Yeah.
sunset, having my toes in the sand and just relaxing for a minute was incredible.
I love
Finding
that.
that joy.
I
Yes.
love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. I don't know, Tanya, if we're postponing August, but we're definitely adding September. So,
Okay. Slow down, Turbo.
I know, slow down.
Now it'll
Uh,
be like she's staying a
crazy.
month in September. It'll be,
Right. Right.
it's a lot.
No, but thank you so much. I mean, I think I know a friend of mine just said something the other day about just how sacred that space feels for them. And I love the joy it can bring, Martha's Vineyard brings to community, but also everyone, to your point, being able to find the little part that makes their heart sing. So thank you for joining. Thank you for sharing the island with all of us. Thank you for keeping it and preserving it to be the black sanctuary that it is. And we look forward to seeing you this summer.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's Jessica. Thanks for listening to Girl Call Me. If you have something to add or a story to share, come on over to Instagram or Facebook and join the conversation. Also, make sure you follow and subscribe Girl Call Me. You don't want to miss when we release new episodes. Thanks for listening.